Turning to our top story, presidential advisor David Plouffe under fire tonight for accepting a $100,000 speaking engagement in 2010 from a company that has ties to Iran. The Republican National Committee calling Plouffe's questionable actions just the latest example of the Obama administration's transparency hypocrisy. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney suspending the truth while whining that the Republican scrutiny is, quote, clearly politics.
Again, this is political criticism after the fact, that's clearly designed to try to, score some points when this was several years ago, prior to the dynamic we have now with regards to sanctions and companies like this.
To be kind, and we are usually without fail kind here, Carney ignored the fact that sanctions have been in place against Iran for most of the last 30 years, and the White House neglected to acknowledge that this is not the first time that Plouffe has taken money from groups tied to corrupt foreign governments. Plouffe was forced to donate $50,000 he was paid in 2009 after speaking to a group tied to the government in Azerbaijan. While Carney was doing his best to suggest that Plouffe didn't know of any sanctions against Iran, we would like to remind Mr. Carney, indeed the White House itself, that Stuart Levey, a former Treasury undersecretary in both the Bush and Obama administrations, was the point man on Iran sanction enforcement, and he said back in 2006 that the company in question was involved in a joint venture that was fully controlled by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Plouffe and his recurring difficulties with Iranian money and U.S. sanctions against Iran, and Senator Reid with his expanding difficulties with unnamed sources and perhaps the truth itself, created a political dilemma for the Obama administration. We turn to Chief White House Correspondent Ed Henry with our report.
We will finish what we started in 2008 and remind the world why the United States of America is the greatest nation on earth.
While President Obama bills his campaign as substantive and still focused on hope and change, the White House today refused to ask Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid to stop using one anonymous source to claim Republican Mitt Romney did not pay any taxes over a span of 10 years.
I'm not aware of the White House speaking to Senator Reid about this issue. He speaks for himself.
A coordinated dodge from the White House to the Obama campaign, enabling the president's team to let Reid be the lead attack dog on Romney for releasing only 2 years of tax returns.
I don't know who Harry was talking to, and the point here, though, Chris, is the Romney campaign and Governor Romney can resolve this in 10 seconds. They can release the tax returns.
Hardly a denunciation of the hardball tactic from Reid.
He's a dirty liar, and we're moving on. We're moving on to defeating this president and saving this country.
The senator is not backing down.
So the word's out that he hasn't paid any taxes for 10 years. Let him prove that he has paid taxes, because he hasn't.
Now, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi is giving him cover, telling the Huffington Post Harry Reid made a statement that is true. Somebody told him. It is a fact. Jay Carney sidestepped a question about whether the White House agrees with Pelosi.
I haven't seen that statement.
The White House also played defense on a Washington Post report that could undermine the administration's claims it's getting tough with Iran. Shortly before joining the White House staff in 2010, David Plouffe got a $100,000 speaking fee from a subsidiary of the MTN Group, which does business with Iran's government. The White House insists questions about the company's ties to Iran were unknown at the time.
Criticism of Mr. Plouffe now for issues and controversies that developed much later is simply misplaced.
But the Republican National Committee notes that media reports dating all the way back to 2005 show, in fact, the company was doing business in Iran. The White House fires back that various Bush officials gave speeches to UBS and Credit Suisse, which was also doing business with Tehran. Lou?
But as we noted, Ed, that entity was in fact controlled, the joint venture controlled by the, according to the Obama administration officials themselves, controlled by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I'm not quite sure why Jay Carney wouldn't have taken note of that, are you?
Well, I'm not sure this is a story that Jay Carney wants to go too deeply into the details on. It's one that's embarrassing for the White House. It's an awful lot of money to a very top official here. You remember David Plouffe not just ran the campaign in 2008, the successful winning campaign for this president, but he's now, a senior advisor inside the White House plotting policy, politics. He's got his hands in a lot here, and this is an embarrassing story for them, Lou.
Ed Henry, thank you very much, as always. Fox News Chief White House Correspondent Ed Henry. Meanwhile, Senator Harry Reid looking to raise the cost of electricity in his home state of Nevada. That's right, to raise the cost of electricity. The state's largest provider of electricity, NV Energy, is mandated to buy electricity from the lowest price producers, but Senator Reid doesn't care about those rules. Reid says NV Energy should be buying more and more expensive electricity from a Chinese solar company that is opening up for business in Nevada. Not only is their electricity more expensive, but one of Reid's sons works for ENN Mojave Energy. Well, joining me now for more on Reid, the 2012 presidential race, senior Romney advisor, former New Hampshire governor, White House chief of staff for President George H.W. Bush, none other than John Sununu. Governor, good to have you with us.
It's good to be here, Lou. How are you tonight?
I am well, and I trust that you are, given all of the contests that are opening up on a wide variety of fronts. This looks like, well, if you will, Sununu ground. I would say that this is this is percolated up just specially for you.
Look, the Harry Reid thing is interesting. It's part of the Obama class warfare effort. They had another effort last week to try and divert attention from the real issues. They filed suit in Ohio to block the extra days the Ohio legislature gave the military for filing their absentee ballots. That's consistent with what the Democrats did in the Florida recount, where they tried to stop the military absentee ballots from being counted. So they're avoiding everything that has an issue associated with it and playing games around the edges.
Playing games. Harry Reid, I mean, it's quite remarkable. Bob Schieffer at CBS comparing the situation to the days of Joe McCarthy, the comments from the Senate Majority Leader saying he had talked to an anonymous source and therefore had license to say whatever the devil he pleased. It's really quite remarkable when the when various other media, let's put it that way, start taking note of a reality.
Yeah, look at the art form in Carney's answer. I am not aware of anyone from the White House. That's what you use when you hope that you don't know that somebody did it. And the coincidence of Axelrod talking to the Democratic luncheon just before Harry Reid walked out and made some of these comments on the floor. Look, this is being guided, directed, or inspired. You pick the word you like by the White House campaign for President Obama. And it's typical of what they do all the time. They did that kind of stuff to Hillary Clinton. They tried to do it to John McCain. They did it to Sarah Palin. This is a slimy, smarmy group that runs dirty campaigns, and they're in the process of doing it now.
I have to say, Reince Priebus, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, calling Senator Reid a dirty liar. Did you detect any redundancy or inappropriateness in his comment?
Reince is such a nice guy. I was astounded to hear those words. But more importantly, Senator Lindsey Graham, a colleague of Senator Reid, and you know how senators bend over backwards to be collegial, told the world that Harry Reid was lying. Harry Reid is lying. Harry Reid has a history of lying, and Harry Reid has a history of incompetence. But the most important thing is, what is President Obama doing about it? And he's just sitting there enjoying the mischief that his campaign has started. We have 8.3% unemployment. Last quarter, 1.5% growth rate. If you really look at the unemployment figures that came out, instead of the positive spin the liberal media is giving, if you look at Table A in the release that came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you see 150,000 fewer people worked in July than in June for a variety of reasons, including being fired or whatever. And the fact is, this economy is going down the drain, and you have a president that for over 200 days has avoided meeting with his own jobs council. I don't understand why people don't understand how incompetent this president is and how detached he is from the reality of the problem.
104 rounds of golf, 198 fundraisers. That doesn't leave a lot of time, does it?
He could have played 9 holes one day instead of 18 and sat down with his jobs council. But I guess the jobs problem in America is not that important to him. He hasn't passed a budget. He will be the only president in history, because he is going to be a one-termer, that never had a budget passed during his term. He's not even trying. It's unbelievable.
Governor Johnson, good to have you with us.
Good to be here. Have a nice evening.
You too.